I went to the Trap Museum this past weekend and it was a cool little experience. I definitely highly recommend it to anybody that's visiting Atlanta, Georgia. It's off Northside Drive near the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. It's definitely a must-do if you're ever in the city, in the town visiting. Make sure you check out the Trap Museum. Couple of things that I would change about the Trap Museum. So obviously I'm gonna start with the bad things first, and then I'll probably get into some other things I thought were more positive. But I'm gonna start with some things that I think I would change about the Trap Museum, just to take it up a notch, to make it a tad bit better. For one, I would introduce some live scale models of some of the rappers that were showcased at the Trap Museum. I think that'll just be a bit fun. You know, you can take some pictures next to some of the rappers that were highlighted in the museum, see what size they are in comparison to us. You know, are they huge? Are they small? Tory Lanez, or Nipsey Hussle, rest in peace, tall guy. But that would be cool to just stand next to some of the rappers unofficially, just to get a feel for it. Another thing I would do differently, I thought that some of the installations and rooms were really nice, but I really thought that some of those rappers and performers could have had their own room all together. A lot of them near the end was sort of clustered together. I thought one like Cardi B. Nicki Minaj too. Those are rappers that are big enough in popularity that they could have their own room. You can walk through the room, get a feel for it, see some of the pictures, as they're growing up throughout life, young, old, where they started in their career, where they are today, and just have some of their personal possessions in those actual rooms, which they did throughout. Like T.I., for example, he had his own vault, which was cool. I think he had one of his Grammys or awards sitting dead center in the room. Some of his outfits were showcased on display in the room. Weapons, guns, I assume were his actual weapons and guns, but the vault was pretty cool for T.I., but I thought some of the other rappers, a lot more of them could have had their own space and their own rooms. Like, honestly, that place could be maybe 5 to 10 times as big as it is, considering the history and how many rappers that have been performing throughout the years. It could be 5 to 10 times its size, which I'm sure over time it'll probably get there. I think this may be just their introduction. Maybe they didn't have all the money or couldn't find the building right now, but hopefully they can take the Trap Museum and just expand, because it specifically focuses on trap music. So a lot of artists that are big today, they weren't even showcased at the museum. One thing side note, I overheard some of the workers saying that there was a 10-year-old kid that ran out the back door, and somehow, they said he was 10, they don't know exactly, somehow he grabbed one of the display guns and ran out the back door with it. So I'm like, how is that possible? So I guess y'all might need to vault down and lock down some of the pieces on display for better security. What else would I change? They did have a long line to get in there, which it had its pros and cons. I appreciate the line, although we probably waited for at least an hour and a half just to get in the museum. All right, it probably takes about 30 minutes to an hour to get through the museum itself, but I still waited about an hour and a half. Occasionally they would have someone to walk through and say, if you pay an extra $20, you can skip the line and go right in, which, if you got the money, do it. If not, you just have to wait, or you just don't feel like it's worth the $20. The $20 I paid to get in the museum was well worth it. I should have asked the young lady, I said, if I give you $10, can I just cut to the half point in the line? I'm sure she would have told me no, and I'm sure that would have made a lot of people upset if I would have cut in front of her. But hey, you paying $20 just to skip the whole line. Hey, more power to you. What else would I change? I think, it would have been nice if it was a bit more interactive. Maybe some more display or digital displays, or more things for you to engage in, to experience. And granted, I'll be honest, I didn't engage in every installation that was there, but I think just some more things that would have got you more involved in the experience. Those are just some things I would change. But my experience overall, thumbs up. I was well pleased. So from the intro, once you first enter into the building, there's like this storefront. honestly, it took me a minute to catch on. I thought it was an actual storefront. I was thinking, like, the people coming here when the museum is closed and, you know, buy snacks and things. So you imagine going into a gas station or corner store, which I imagine you envision a corner store in the hood. People, you know, they stand in front, you go in there and buy your snacks, and you go ahead and about your business. So that's what it felt like, and I thought it was a real store. It took me a second to see that, oh, this is just a display. So well done. That was a clever idea. From there, you move into this room, which is like a living room, you know, which it had this nostalgia feel to it, because it felt like a room I grew up in the 90s, you know, 80s, as you know, the display, the old furniture, the antique dressers and TV stand, the TVs, the floor model, those huge TVs. They didn't have flat screens back then. They had these huge TVs, you know, the pictures of all the rappers on the wall. That was pretty unique and cool, but it almost felt like home just being in there. Aside from the fact, in the center of the living room on display was just, you know, drugs and weed and money and alcohol. I didn't experience that, thank God, but that was sort of the display that was on the center. Again, it just nice. It was a nice installation. I enjoyed it. It felt like home in a sense. Next, moving on, I think there were some other installation. There were like some studio rooms or recording studio rooms that you could walk into, get a feel for. They had a wall where some of the rappers who their mug shots were displayed on the wall. It was funny seeing it was Offset. He was on the wall and someone was like, oh, that's Quavo. Like, no, that wasn't Quavo, that's Offset, you know, but you know, hey, they're the Migos. Anyways, T.I. had a vault, which I hit on earlier. The vault was probably the best little installation that I saw there. Futures was pretty cool too, but it could have showed more of Future. It was like this spaceship, which I took a lot of pictures of because as a filmmaker myself, I wouldn't mind recreating some of these things for an idea of a short film that I had, you know, a couple of years ago, but maybe one day I revisit this for some inspiration. But back to T.I.'s vault. It was cool seeing like some of his actual handwritten notes and lyrics on display. There were some cool paintings. They had some nice artwork displayed throughout the museum of paintings and murals of some of the artists, which was pretty cool. They had a bar, and I believe, you know, near once the museum is over, or they have parties or special events there, there's a bar in there, and people, I think it may even turn into a club at night, I'm not sure. Also across from the Trap Museum, there's a Trap Cafe or something for you to go in and have beverages and drinks. I didn't go in there, I wish I would have, but that's a little cool piece as well. Martin Luther King's Day, thinking about the struggle. So it's Martin Luther King's Day, Monday, today is Wednesday. Thinking about the struggle, thinking about the fact that there is a museum that was crafted and created by a black man, T.I., and maybe his investors, or if he did it solo, I don't know. Kudos. That's just a great sign of where we've come from. So I appreciate that. Now, we'll be honest. I did sort of have a conflict of interest or something, you know, just sort of kind of make me a little sad sort of walking through the museum. And that's knowing the fact that some of my people had to sell drugs or some believe that, that was the only way to get out the hood because that's all they knew. They didn't know that they can go another path. If it wasn't for like people in my family sort of pushing me to go to college, I probably would have never went to college. But again, so just knowing that that's the path that people have to take or have chosen to take in order to get out the hood, you know, selling the weeds, the drug, that sort of, you know, made me a little sad just thinking about that. You know, that was an installation in one of the rooms where they showed like the scales or, you know, the tools used to make crack, cocaine, dope, cocoa, whatever, you know. Yeah, I'm in love with the cocoa. Y'all know what that is. That's what my people have to go through to find a better way of life, you know. So that sort of made me sad. You know, I love my people. I don't want my people to have to sell drugs in order to go out to get out the hood. I want my people to, you know, pursue education, to pursue creating their own business, trade schools. There's other paths to getting out the hood. I say that also knowing that in America, equality is not fair. You know, people are privileged. Black people are, you know, more oppressed, still fighting through things, you know, the whole Black Lives Matter Black Lives Matter movement was huge about a good year ago, and it still is today. Now we're still fighting for equality, so I understand, drugs was pumped into our hood, and the effect of that still lingers on today, and the violence that come with it, the turf wars, the overdosing. Granted, that don't just affect Black people, that affect all cultures. But yeah, there's a slight little burden there just seeing that side of it. But again, I get it. I understand the product of the environment. But I just want my people to know there is another way to get out the hood. I believe that. All right, so that's all I'm gonna say on that. So walking out and leaving the museum, it hit me. I was like, what was Tupac and Biggie? Why weren't they on display? They're rappers too. Then I was like, oh, because it's trap music specifically. It's because it's a niche. They're not talking about all rappers. They're talking specifically about trap music, and I guess specifically in the South. So there you have, which I guess with that being said, they can make other museums, for whatever the genre, or however they classify music from the North, or from the rappers in California. I'm not even sure how you would classify that. Rap music, gangster music, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't say gangster music. I don't know if that's a term that Black people created, or if it was given to us by the white man. I don't know. But saying that, yeah, more museums can be created. They can make an R&B museum. They can make a gospel museum. Just throwing some ideas out there. I do question whether or not T.I. is the creator of trap music. He did trademark the term, I guess, through his album Trap Music, but I do question. Not saying he isn't, but I do wonder, is he the one that started trap music? I don't know. Would I go again? Absolutely. I would absolutely go again for the experience with a friend or someone else. I would definitely go again. I enjoyed it. I recommend it. The person I was with, they asked, did I ever experience a home where people were selling drugs? And I was like, no, and thank God I didn't. That I don't want to have to live through that. I'm sure if most people had a choice, that's why most rappers, they move out the hood. Like, they don't, some may go back, but most of them, they get out the hood because they know what comes with it. They know, you putting your life at risk when you're, still selling drugs, or maybe someone jealous of your success. They want to take you out. We see it all the time. Rappers are killed all the time, and it's unfortunate. But yeah, so I thank God I wasn't around. And granted, I never grew up in the projects, but I was always, in the hood or a block from the hood. I grew up in Atlanta off of Metropolitan or Hapeville Road. Yeah, so I always close enough to see it, but never live in it to have to experience it. But that's it, y'all. Again, trap music people, trap museum creators, originators, great job, T.I. and gang. Keep it up. Build another one somewhere. Educate some people. Make something new. Make something not just a trap museum. What else could you do? Hey, peace.